Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, it's Locked On Texas Tech against the spread as we get ready for another college football weekend. Of course, Red Raiders and Mountaineers we're taking a closer look at. A lot of familiarity running in all directions between the two sidelines. Is there an advantage to be gained for anyone as a result of that? We'll investigate. And also investigating, well, the first half of the season. Joey McGuire and company doing some self-scouting, self-analysis, self-reflection as it relates to fourth down aggression. Has the risk been worth the reward, at least as far as one metric is concerned? We'll get into that dead ahead on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be back with you once again on Locked On Texas Tech, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Today's episode brought to you by Underdog. Sign up right now on UnderdogFantasy.com with the promo code Locked On. That's promo code Locked On, and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. As you heard just a moment ago, we will begin today's conversation as we wrap up the week, kick the doors open on another West Texas weekend, and get ready for the Red Raiders and the Mountaineers with something pretty interesting, Chris, from your weekly conversation with Joey McGuire on local radio. Some self-reflection, some self-analysis as we look back on what has been one of the more interesting aspects of the first half of this season, that being pure, unadulterated aggression on fourth down. What did he share with you? Because it sounded pretty interesting as far as the true crux of whether or not this is paying off or if this is taking your knees out from under you.
Yeah, so well, the conversation was about bye week, and we always hear the term self-scout. You just mentioned it there. And like for people that don't really grasp what that is, you just simply step back and go, hey, what play are we doing out of this formation on this distance? And you just put all this data together because you want to make sure you're not, telling what you're doing to the opponent because they have the same information. So you want to make sure that you're looking at all that and gathering it all. But in the midst of all that, I think the folks over at Tech and Joey's staff, and I think Matt Dowdy with the sports information department, they all kind of started looking at the fourth down stuff. And so Joey starts going into this kind of conversation about.
We got Dowdy scouting stuff?
He was not scouting. He just looked it all up. Yeah, he looked it all up. So Joey said, okay, so there's a lot of talk about, fourth downs and everything. So we looked it up, and on the drive, so here was the number, and I was like, okay, repeat this for me. And I wrote it down just to make sure I was right. But he looked it up. And he's like, on the times that we have gone for fourth down on any drive and we haven't converted, we've given up 28 points. Okay. Or excuse me, make sure I'm right. No, 20 points, 20. Sorry, I'm getting the numbers screwed up. But when you have gone for the fourth down and then converted one on a drive, they've scored 58 points. Anyway, it nets a positive plus 38.
Right.
So I think what they wanted to make sure of, because he even referenced, Alabama and Nick Saban on a 4th and 2 in the red zone against Tennessee last week, they elected to kick the field goal. And we know, that game didn't work out for the Crimson Tide. So he's just kind of looking at the fourth down stuff. And they had an hour meeting on Thursday, with the analytics folks, just kind of going through all these different scenarios and everything like that as they normally do. But anyway, I think it just suggests to them that they're gonna, that they're not that it's right or wrong, and that you've got the gut feel, but that they are going to continue to roll the dice because it's netting a lot more positives than it is negatives. And yes, it can equal short field. Yes, you can not go for it, or you can lose momentum, but you can go win a game too. The Texas game, I think the two examples of you really doing well in it, I think, was the Texas game. That was like I want to say like a plus 27. So you scored the 58 points total on these fourth down conversion drives, let's call them. Well, 27 of those points were in that Texas game.
You're 6 for 8.
Exactly. And let's be honest, if you don't roll the dice in that game and really are good at it, you're not going to win it, because Texas played well in the second half. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting, some interesting numbers and an interesting way to look at it, because I hadn't thought about it like that. But that is one of the things that they had looked up. Point being, don't expect it to be backed off much at all, as we go forward in the last 6. So he's a gambling man. He's going to stay a gambling man. And they have the data, the analytics, and the book says to do certain things, but they also now have it backed up on what they feel like is a plus 38, positive net there with points gained versus points lost in those drives. So giddy up.
He is a roving gambler. Gamble all day round. Whenever he sees a game of chance, he goes for it on 4th down. Yeah, he goes for it.
Oh man, Cowan would what? Yes,
that's DAC
with the bars. Yes,
I think DAC was talking 4th down, or maybe he said put his money down. I can't remember, but hey, you know what? Honestly, even if like the differential within those points was not positive towards Texas Tech, I didn't expect it to stop. And I don't necessarily want it to. We've talked about it, Chris. Like, do what you do to the fullest that you do it. I don't want any wishy-washy, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm Avery Johnson, and I'm going to change up a 62-win team's lineup in the first round of the playoffs against an 8 seed.
Oh, man, let it go. Let it go, Calvin.
And I'm still going to be bitter about it.
You've been holding on to that one too long, man. I mean,
that was the classic example of, like, outthinking the room, I thought. So I always come back to it. So, no, I didn't really expect to see it cease either way. And if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. And I want to see it continue if he thinks that's best, because we hired him to do what he thinks is best and win football games. But I guess I would say, and I wouldn't even call it playing devil's advocate, it's just, hey, here's the counter to that. 58-20. Well, it's not singular within a game. It's not in a vacuum. And when you talk about maybe some combined differentials in Texas Tech losses this year, you may want to run back to that 20 points and think, well, what is it if you flip the field or you punt and you play defense on the other side? Or you giving up like 3 on those subsequent possessions instead of 20? I don't know, but that would be pretty easy to counter with if you're not feeling like the 38-point differential is some really positive sign. I'm glad it's not negative, but I do have a little bit of a tough time processing it, if that makes sense, because I don't know how related those numbers are. I know there are some sequences within the same game. Like the Texas one's a great example that you gave there. Clearly, your decisions there helped win you the game. What you did after converting those 4th downs, or conversely, maybe limited on the 2 times that you didn't convert to 4th downs, that helps you win the game. That one's easy for a simple-minded guy like me to process. Some of these others may be a little bit more muddy, but I want to see him continue to go pedal to the metal. I already called Sonny Dykes a sissy for not going for it on his own 34 in the first quarter. So I'm a converted dude right now, Of course, I'm bathed in the McGuire waters here halfway through the year. So we'll see what type of scenarios come up, because here's another one I got for you. Don't face a 4th down so deep in your own territory in the first quarter. Maybe we'll try that on in the second half at some point too.
Sign me up for more of that.
You like that?
Absolutely. Yes. Convert those 3rd downs, gentlemen.
We'll see. Something tells me we'll maybe back in some of those very interesting situations coming up this weekend. And we're back to Texas Tech and West Virginia coming up dead ahead. Familiarity in a lot of ways, maybe the name of the game this weekend, is on both sidelines, and not just among like former Tech coaches or Tech players, but also familiarity that Chris will get into coming up as it relates to a current Tech coach and a West Virginia player. So curious to see at some different moments what's been learned about one another. We'll get into that and more coming up directly ahead. But first, it's our friends at Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to kick your college football weekend up a notch. They put in all the work to make you the priority. User experience is number 1 on the priority list. So your game day is still a game day as you're following your favorite team, but also keeping up with what you got going on with Underdog Fantasy. Chris, do you have anybody standing out to you for the Red Raiders if you were making a fantasy selection offensively for Texas Tech this weekend?
Honestly, I would still I would point to either Trey Cleveland or Jerron Bradley. They both had monster games in Stillwater. They were both over 100 yards, and I would expect them to continue to be featured. I especially think so. You say that with kind of JJ Sparkman. You're not real sure about Miles Price. You're not real sure about. I think Xavier White could be another one if you needed to fill somebody. But I would point to Bradley or Trey Cleveland.
There you go. Texas Tech, West Virginia, a couple options there for the one here in Lubbock. But of course, you got the entire college football map to play with Underdog Fantasy. So sign up today with the promo code Locked On, and Underdog is going to double your first deposit up to $100. You deposit $100, you get $100 back for free, baby. So that's sweet news any way you slice it. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. And again, use the promo code Locked On and kick up your college football weekend a notch. Get in on the college football pick'em today at UnderdogFantasy.com. Joining us on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Subscribe. Remember to tell your friend to subscribe. And then remember again to think about subscribing and double check that you have subscribed on YouTube. Just like each weekday routine, to start it off there, just think about those things. It's like a meditation. Your mantra could be subscribe.
Namaste.
Subscribe.
Namaste. Subscribe. Subscribe.
If namaste or goose vraba is like getting old to you, let's go with the subscribe and let's get Zen on YouTube on Locked On Texas Tech. Do it there anywhere you get podcasts. I'm kind of wondering, you get into like a namaste comfort zone, Chris. Is there any comfort for anybody on either sideline this weekend at the Jones who's got familiarity with the opponent, whether it's the place, the environment, say for Neil Brown or Graham Harrell on the West Virginia sideline, or something that you learned about this week in a Texas Tech coach who's got some familiarity with a West Virginia Mountaineer? Tell me about this connection, because it's one of a few interesting ones involved in this game here this weekend.
Well, so you mentioned the fact that Neil and Graham were here. Don't we also need to remember Matt Moore, the offensive line coach for West Virginia. He was here for many years. Chad Scott, the running backs coach for West Virginia, he was here for several years too. So basically, that entire offensive staff on West Virginia's sideline either coached here or played here. So I just think that is fascinating. And Joey knows Graham's dad from way back, and he had Graham playing in some high school 7-on-7 tournament a long time ago, and he was when Graham was in middle school, and Graham was that good where he was playing in the high school 7-on-7 tournament. So there's a lot of familiarity there. I mean, and Graham Harrell, I thought this was interesting. This week he got asked a lot about the wind. Yeah, there was he got asked 4 weather questions about the weather in West Texas and Lubbock. He mentioned a lot of blowing dirt. He mentioned a lot of cold and a lot of wind and all that stuff. But he did say he liked the sunsets here.
Do they think we live under the ocean or on Mars? It's just
I don't know. I haven't. The wind hasn't bothered me, and maybe we're just used to it. But the wind, it's breezy in other towns too, man. Trust me.
I mean, I've got a little hack this spring. I got to be honest, but
the spring is the worst, and so, but everybody acts like it's blowing 40 miles an hour here.
Come up with a new question, West Virginia media. Good grief.
I know. It's quite the topic up there. Okay, so last night when I'm sitting there talking to Coach McGuire on his show, we have Marcel Yates on. Marcel Yates is somebody that's known Tim DeRuyter. Marcel Yates played he's the current secondary coach for Texas Tech. And that was really Coach DeRuyter, as Joey McGuire said, he's like, hey, man, I called up Tim DeRuyter and I was like, hey, I want you to be my defensive coordinator. He's like, what do you need? And DeRuyter's basically his first answer was, I need Marcel Yates with me. And he was up there working with him and all that stuff. Well, they've known each other since Marcel Yates was playing at Boise State, and Coach DeRuyter was at Nevada. So they're in the same conference, all that stuff. And then they coached together several years later at A&M. So shame on them, but they got out of there. And then they've been together on the West Coast at a lot of these Pac-12 schools, Arizona, Cal, Oregon, and all that stuff. So anyways, I'm interviewing Coach Yates, and we're sitting there talking about how much football has changed and how different it is in the Big 12 than the Pac-12. He said the Big 12 is a lot more physical than he expected, and a lot more physical than the Pac-12 is and all that. So we get around to JT Daniels, who's the quarterback for West Virginia right now. I said, well, Coach, your secondary got another stiff test against another, very experienced quarterback. He's like, yeah, you know what's funny? He said, I was at Arizona and we went against JT Daniels when he was at USC. And I'm thinking, okay, time out. So Coach Yates has gone from Arizona, then to Oregon, now to Tech. JT Daniels has gone from, USC to Georgia, now to West Virginia. And here their paths cross. Again, it's a completely different league. It's a league game. And it's several years down the road. It's just fascinating how the portal and some of these things have given us these kinds of stories because he had film on him. He looked up kind of what he did and how different they are and all that stuff. Anyway, I just thought that was I was kind of mind blowing, that whole deal. So
anyway. another Lubbock, Texas connection, man. It's always bringing people back together, dude.
There you go. It
goes here in the LBK. I feel like, I don't know about you, man, but JT Daniels this week has been about as lightly discussed on the quarterback front for the opponent as I can really recall. Are we sleeping on?
Well, he's good, Casey. He's good. He's just not. He's not what you have seen to this point in that he's just really, I think the best way to describe him is more of a pro-style drop-back kind of guy. He absolutely can tuck it and go if just needed. That's just not his skill set. He's not fast. He's not super athletic. He's got a pretty strong arm. And they're good on offense now. Graham's done a good job with that group up there, but they're very balanced. They don't have some just unbelievably stud at wideout. They're pretty good on the line and all that, but JT Daniels is a big part of it. And I was kind of curious, okay, you can't win the job at Georgia. You couldn't win the job at USC, but you win it at West Virginia. And they were desperately looking for an answer after basically kind of moving away from Jarrett Dagey last year, which, that's another ironic kind of
I was
Lubbock.
Just thinking of him as you're talking about all this movement.
Oh, well, like Lubbock Tech connection, because Neil, he coached Seth Dagey when they were at Tech. He coached Jarrett Dagey and all that. So that's the only reason why we're talking about JT Daniels is because they kind of, I think in so many ways they were like, hey man, we just got to try to upgrade here. I don't know if it was Jarrett was kind of a scapegoat or all that, but anyway, those are I'm a big fan of the Dagey family and all that stuff. But anyway, just there's a lot of crossover and connections here and all those things. But Daniel, I mean, he's good enough to beat you. I think, sure. But he's just not a guy that I think is going to punish you consistently with his legs. And I think that's been different. So if you can win some of those matchups up front and you can kind of get home, he's not a guy that you have to worry about over pursuing and you flush the pocket and then here he goes for 18 yards. Yeah. So we'll see because I think Tech's defensive line can and will play well on Saturday. I really believe that.
And it sounds like you're maybe cooking up some turnovers there in what you're describing, possibly on the back end.
Cooking them up, and there's no beans in this chili, man. No beans in this chili, just turnovers.
Well, I'm not here to cast judgment on a man that likes beans in his chili because I like all the above, and I just think it's a silly conversation to divide Texans over. So I'm not here to do that right now while I'm stirring the pot, and we'll just continue to move on because we got plenty to divide us coming up next with Locked On Texas Tech against the spread. Chris and I are not dead even, but we're in the same neighborhood, so somebody has got to break free. We're taking a look at this weekend's slate in the Big 12 and beyond.
And can I make you one more point before I get here? I told you this before we started taping the show, but another mind-blowing, you sit there and you talk to Adrian Fry, and he's sitting there telling you that he's been here since David Gibbs was the defensive coordinator, Cowan. David Gibbs. My man may set a record. I mean, if he stays healthy the rest of the year, he may set a record for most games played as a Red Raider. Already played in 44.
Yeah, you want to talk familiarity.
I mean he's seen it's like, well, yeah, way back when gas prices were this
Right.
or so-and-so was president or whatever. I mean, Adrian Fry's been a Red Raider for nearly a decade, man. He's seen two different streaks.
That's amazing.
He's seen a 2-game losing streak from Texas Tech to West Virginia. Now he's seen a 3-game winning streak from Texas Tech on West Virginia. Go figure.
He was knee-high to a grasshopper on campus whenever Holden Hall was still the West Texas Museum, I think. I mean, he's really seen us growing up. He's got to be enjoying this centennial celebration we're preparing to get into.
Yes.
Shout out to Adrian Fry for sticking it out, waiting around to finally say, no, we're getting a winning streak going against these guys, and I'm going to enjoy it. And hopefully we're continuing that. So we'll have to wait around and see, but we'll find out coming up very soon from Jones Stadium, and we'll find out which way we're going this week with Locked On Texas Tech against the spread dead ahead. But first, you know them, you love them. We want you to go see them. Support them because they're supporting us and because they're good folk over at Flatlands Grain in Hale Center, Texas, America. And Chris, among our galaxy of supporting partners, we've got Jay's Salsa that's supporting your taste bud family. But this, somewhat similar to our other guy, Armen Williams, taking care of your business, because when you're talking Flatlands Grain, harvest season, and everything going on for farming and ranching families, it's your business that, you're relying on them to have your back on whenever everything is flying in all directions. And it certainly gets that way for just about everybody. Trustworthy Red Raiders, and glad to have them as part of the Locked On Texas Tech supporting partner galaxy. You like that term?
I do. And these kind folks, they want to fulfill your grain storage needs. And I'm telling you, man, I'm bringing it back. Hashtag West Texas, man.
Let's go.
Come on. What are we doing? Yes.
West, y'all.
Yeah, that's right. Check them out. Flatland Grains, flatlandgrains.com.
They got your back. And harvest season is upon us. I mean, I've been saying it for a little while because it's feel like it's been creeping on us for a while, but truly at your doorstep now. And no job too big, too small, whether it's 1,000 bushels, 1 truckload, or just keeping animals fed, or maybe even just a cup of coffee here or there. Go see them 30 quick and convenient minutes north of Lubbock in Hale Center, Texas. Give them a call at 806-839-2522 or visit them online, as Chris mentioned, at flatlandsgrain.com. The Red Raiders at Flatlands Grain are saying, wreck 'em Tech. Go see them in Hale Center, or again, check them out online at flatlandsgrain.com. Glad to have you along for the ride on Locked On Texas Tech, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are wrapping up the week once again with Locked On Texas Tech against the spread. As I mentioned, Chris and I, not quite dead even, but we're in the same neighborhood now after a week gone by.
I'm not in the Arkansas neighborhood anymore. I can tell you that.
No, and thanks a lot, Arkansas, for not playing a game this week and allowing me to hit Chris with that stinger, that Razorback stinger once again. Arkansas about 65% responsible for Chris's 6-9-1 mark.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he's missed them every time they've been on the list, and maybe they'll be back in the future. I am 7-8-1. We're both losers. Nobody is above 500 here, and we're trying to get that way this week in the Big 12 and beyond. Let's start outside of the conference, Chris. We'll go with a couple of top 25 matchups here. One on the left coast with the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks hosting UCLA, where no one cares that they're the number 9 team in the country. The Ducks -6 in this game. Bears or Ducks?
Yeah, this is where I believe College Game Day is on Saturday. Right? Yeah, that's where they'll be posted up in Eugene, Oregon. One of the best players in the country that nobody really knows about is the UCLA quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, they call him. I watch enough stuff on, exactly. Nobody knows who the guy is. I think he's got 15 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. I think UCLA under Chip Kelly has just kind of been sneaky. Nobody's showing up to their games, yet they keep winning them. I mean, all we see is crowd shots at the Rose Bowl. It's like Troy Aikman's even like on TV in the NFL games, like, dude, man, Bruin fans, what are you doing? But they're winning games. I'm going to take the points here. I'm going to go UCLA. I like that color blue. If I'm being honest, I kind of like that Columbia blue. I like saying DTR. I think he's a pretty good quarterback.
I never think that's what you're going to say when you start out with DT, but I like it as well.
but I'm going to take UCLA +6.
We're simpatico to kick this sucker off here. I wanted to go Ducks, to be honest with you, -6, but then I saw this radical bear attack video. The dude coming over the rocks and then kicking the bear down. Did you see that this week?
I have not.
Oh, I must share it with you. But now that I've said it out loud and recall actually that the rock climber defeated the bear, like smacked him around, threw him down until it left. Never mind, I'm going Ducks because that bear looked like a sucker. He got beat up by a rock climber somehow. Give me the Ducks -6. I've talked myself out of it now that I've gone back to review the film because the bear lost that matchup. How tough is a Bruin anyway? All right, so we're splitting right off the bat. Amend what I said. How about this one from
a Bruin's tougher than a Doug? I can assure you that.
Possibly, but I hadn't seen a duck get its ass kicked by a rock climber this week. I did see a bear do that, so I must go.
Fair point.
What have you done for me lately, Animal Kingdom? The bear went down in that instance. Although, no, there are two instances of bears going down this week. How about the pair of wrestlers that fought off the bear? I mean, they got like destroyed. I don't know what they looked like before, but they would have to be very ugly before to be more handsome.
I have no idea what you're talking about,
Chris. I got to get you my YouTube Animal Kingdom brawl playlist.
Okay, please do. Yes,
you know where I'm subscribed on YouTube.
Turn me on to it. Yes, yes.
But they also survived. They defeated that bear, so it's been a bad week for Bears all the way around. Yeah, Ducks is the pick. Okay, SEC with the Pirate involved. Alabama just got field rushed and like made everybody's dreams come true. Seeing them go down and done the way that they were in Knoxville, Tennessee, where they're getting it for 10 a key. And when they're getting 10 a key, save 10 for me. The Crimson Tide, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, number 6, number 24, Alabama, 21-point favorite here in Tuscaloosa, Chris, -21 or +21. You like the Crimson Tide or the Bulldogs?
It's a big number.
Yes, it is.
It's a big number. So was the amount of penalties that Alabama had last weekend too. 17 penalties for a Nick Saban coach team. And not to turn this sour, but I mean, Mississippi State, man, they just had a player pass away this week, on their roster and all that. So I can't imagine their mind is right. I don't know. That's a weird one. And I think with all the motivation Bama may have of being embarrassed, I'm gonna go Tide. It's a big number. I'm gonna take a -21.
We are taking shots this week because I'm going the other way. I'm going with the Bulldogs. Let's see if they can do something interesting. That's a big number. And it is, I mean, Mike Leach and a decent team over there with some just out of the box.
You're going with the fighting Dak Prescott. See, I like where your head's at. Dak Prescott.
Well, I don't like it now that you said that.
Yeah, there you go. He's back.
Did Cooper Rush go to Mississippi State by chance?
No, he went to some directional Michigan school. Yeah.
All right. Do we have them on the pick'em list? Damn it.
No.
I'm going Mississippi State.
Okay.
I really don't even know why, but I'm shooting my shot. I'm tired of being in the same neighborhood with you. I'm either going to get kicked out to a worse one, or I'm moving up to the penthouse this week. All right. Let's go to the Big 12 Conference. Baylor, Kansas. -10 for the Bears in Waco. Kansas has come back down to earth, obviously, to a degree. Baylor, how are we feeling in Waco? What are you seeing here, man?
Yeah, this is also a pretty big number. Both of these teams come in having lost back-to-back games. So both teams come in with 2-game losing streaks. And it's kind of don't laugh when I say it, but it's kind of an elimination game. I don't know if anybody thought that Kansas was going to hang in the conference race or anything, but Baylor by many was thought to, be in the thick of it, win it, after they won it last year. But if they drop this one, man, that's 3 losses and you're just out. I mean, I don't think mathematically, you could probably still hang in there, but you need a lot of help. But the concern I have about taking Baylor -10 is I don't know if Blake Shapen is going to play. However, because last time we saw him, man, he didn't finish that game against West Virginia. He was a dirty shot, knocked out, and he concussed. Kyron Drones did come in, and I think this is why they let their starter from the quarterback last year kind of go, because they like Drones so much. And so I think I'm uneasy about it, but I'm going to take Baylor minus the 10 points. Woo. And it's kind of going – it was 9.5, just a bit ago. Now it's up to 10, so it's kind of trending that way, but I'm going to take Baylor -10.
You had me thinking you were going Jayhawks, but you didn't.
Yeah, no.
And that makes 3 straight now. We're going opposite ways because I'm rock chalking this weekend in Waco +10. Come on, Kansas, you got any pride? We're talking about you. Well, I mean, we weren't really, but some people were talking about you as like being something. Do you want to be something? We'll go be something this weekend.
Baylor has beat them 12 straight times. 12 straight. And you're saying to yourself, well, a lot of people have beaten Kansas this many straight times. Think about how many bad Baylor teams, though, have been in there. Because prior to Art Briles and then after Briles left, they kind of bottomed out. Those teams still beat Kansas.
Kansas has been a special particular brand of bad, that's for sure.
Yes.
But Texas Tech also beat Baylor 135 times in a row one time. And then that came to a screeching halt as well. So things can change. People can change. That was a horrible
Rocky IV. If we could change, if I could change, and you could change, we could change. Yeah.
I have a better Russian interpreter impression than I do Rocky, as a matter of fact. All right. Here's one of the better ones, I think, just in general in the college football slate, potentially, and certainly one of the more interesting numbers this week. Oklahoma State, number 11 in the nation. Number 20, Texas. Here. Stillwater, Oklahoma, the scene. And the Longhorns, -6.5.
And it's in Stillwater. What?
In Stillwater.
This
Spencer
number,
Sanders, you suiting up? What's going on?
Yeah, this number has gone up, Cowan. And it's like somebody knows something. Right. And, I sure want to go with the somebodies here. Oklahoma State, there was rumors about Spencer Sanders prior to last week's game before TCU. Some even had reported he wasn't even going to play. Not only did he play, he actually looked pretty good. You can't, and then I think that was actually talked about on the telecast. He didn't practice that week. So, you hear kind of shoulder, you hear lower body. I don't know what's going on with him. And he didn't look, to the naked eye, he didn't look bad. I thought he played pretty well. He ran it some. You do realize he leads. I think he leads the conference in rushing touchdowns. Does Spencer Sanders? He's got 8 of them. Okay, and if he doesn't play or if he can't really run, whoo boy, that hurts the Pokes. Meanwhile, you have Bijan Robinson, who's gone over 100 yards in 5 straight games. Xavier Worthy's caught a touchdown pass in 4 straight. I'm going with the somebodies here, man. I watched these two teams up close. I don't feel good about it. You're going to make fun of me. My part of my family is there in Stillwater. They'll be rooting for the lighter color orange.
There we go.
I just am going off of what I see, and I just think without me really knowing what's going on with Spencer Sanders, but somebody in Vegas is trying to tell us there's something goofy going on here because that number doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it, but they also haven't lost a home game in like 2 years. So, but I think Texas may win this one by a touchdown or more.
My guy, we are shaping up for a wild and woolly Locked On Texas Tech against the spread weekend. I'm going Cowboys.
You're going Pokes.
I'm going Cowboys. It's Mike Gundy versus Steve Sarkisian as almost a touchdown favorite on the road with his Aston Martin driving mulleted quarterback. And I don't know as far as
I don't like his orange glasses either.
I don't like anything about him other than we're brothers in Christ. That's the only thing I can find to like about him. I don't know specifically about comparing defensive fronts that Texas has most recently faced to Oklahoma State, but I think there is going to be a fairly stiff challenge up front for the Longhorns.
Hey, now you know one of those guys quit this week
for the Pokes.
Yes,
He got fed.
He quit.
Where were you 2 weeks ago?
That's it. So
I didn't know that.
I forget which one. It's one of their main guys. He has gotten dinged up a little bit. He bailed out and was like, "I'm gonna get ready for the draft. I'm done with the season." And Joey McGuire leans over to me last night. He's like, "Dude, why not 2 weeks ago, man?
No kidding.
Why not 2 weeks ago?" But yeah, one of their guys. So that's also, I had that written down and I forgot to mention it. But that's also one of the reasons why that's a weird deal. You just have a guy imagine right now. Say you lose against West Virginia on Saturday, and Tyree Wilson's like, "You know what? I just think I need to look out for my own best interest. I'm gonna check it in, man. I'm not gonna finish that." We would freak out and lose our minds.
There can't be anybody in the NFL that likes that either, without a damn good reason. I mean, I don't even know what it would be.
I wouldn't think so. But yeah,
okay, thanks for that tidbit. I would prefer next week that maybe you give it before I make my pick. But now I've already made my pick, and I'm going to ride with the Pokes, baby.
Okay.
Pistols firing or whatever lame thing they say up there. Take it back. I'm disgusted I said that. All right, let's get purple. It's just going to get more disgusting. There's no reeling it back in. It's all purple in Fort Worth on Saturday night. We'll wrap it up with Frogs and Purple Wildcats. 8th ranked Texas Christian. Yeah, right. And 17th ranked Kansas State. Frogs at 3.5. Home favorite, Chris. How do you like it?
Oh, I feel really good about this one, actually. It's going to feel good to say it, especially if you go opposite of me, because I know you don't really want to. I want Kansas State plus the 3.5. I'm all about it. I think they come off a bye week. I think TCU didn't play great, especially on special teams last week. Guess what Kansas State's really good at? That's right. You guessed it. Special teams. I think Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn have got some for that bad to medium bad to kind of average TCU defense.
Oh, yeah.
I think Kansas State can score with them a little bit and frustrate them. I think Kansas State's actually pretty good up front on the defensive line. I'm taking Chris Kleiman, man. I'm going with that shade of purple as opposed to the one that they mix in red and tell you about the eyes shooting out blood and all that silliness.
Man, after so much of this conversation spin apart, which I don't mind, it
Come
actually
on,
feels
Calvin.
good
Yes.
to be together again. There's no other option here. It's K-State. Everybody in Fort Worth's been picking out new chino shorts this week. They're celebrating cheese and wine, whatever they do, I don't know. But I guarantee you they're ironing some khakis and whatever and getting their Sperry topsiders glossed up for this weekend's game. So they're not thinking anything like K-State is coming to town, thinking we're the only purple people eaters in this stadium. And I think it actually, Chris, could be dangerously, possibly embarrassing for Sonny Dykes' team after so much credibility earned. I mean, they're in kind of a precarious spot here, so look out if you just completely lay an egg. And K-State's the kind of team that sometimes makes a team look really bad because maybe you're not doing the small things all that well, or you kind of skip the special teams aspect of a game. And I say that firsthand experience watching a few Texas Tech go-arounds with those guys, right?
Oh, yeah. If TCU gets past this one, I mean, we're all going to really get sick of hearing about what they've got going on because this is a landmine of sorts.
Hey, pick a side? You want them to keep some momentum up to the Tech game, or what do you think as a fan?
No, I hope they lose every game by 100,000 points. I don't care what it looks like when you get there. I want those tires flat. That's where I'm at, and I'm from Cowtown, man.
Yeah,
I mean, but I don't care.
We want them flat. We'll slice them again to make sure they can't be aired back up.
And that's why I feel really bad when we do the power rankings. And I try to move Texas up a little bit just because it makes me feel better about the Red Raider win and all that. But I don't care if it makes your win feel better and all that stuff. If they're better and you can knock them off. I mean, would it feel good if they were undefeated? And all that, and you go into Fort Worth and win? Absolutely. But do I want them losing 6 times before then, even though they only have like 2 games? Yes.
I like the answer because my approach as a Tech fan has always been, to hell with everybody. Who's your rival? I don't know. All of them. It's us versus the world. We hate them all. Let's go.
TTVE. Texas Tech versus everybody. That's right.
Great way to wrap up the Deutschendorf Cup week. We got the battle for John Denver's soul on tap this weekend. And, of course, I'm sure you're not at home getting ready like I have been with a personalized And do you have something that you'd pull out that may be constituted as, I don't know, like damn near 1970s risque poster? You got a fold out Johnny Deutschendorf in your collection?
No, I don't, but I will tell you, I walked the same halls in high school that John Denver did in Fort Worth, Texas.
Did you really?
Arlington Heights High School.
Did you wear a shirt like that at all? Have
No,
anything? Okay.
I did
a couple
not.
of flowers there on the collar. Looking good, John. The battle for John Denver's
And
soul
Country Roads is
upon
not
us.
about West Virginia either. So just in
Never
case
has
you didn't
been.
want to know. Yeah, exactly.
Never has been. And Country Boy, maybe a better song in general. Certainly Rocky Mountain High will take you there every time.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to it. And join us this weekend. We will be back with a morning after report as we parse everything that goes down, good or bad, at Jones Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Enjoyed the week as always, Chris. Glad to be back to football this weekend, man. And looking forward to talking with you about it all on the other side. Thanks for the time as always.
Drink it in, people. Drink it in. Yes, West by God, Virginia going down this weekend. Keep hope alive, everyone.
And subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. We do appreciate it. Make Locked On Big 12 your second listen after Locked On Texas Tech with Josh Neighbors right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And be on the lookout for the morning after report coming up this weekend on the other side of Tech and West Virginia. For the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. May the spirit of John Denver be with you. And thanks for joining us again on Locked On Texas Tech.